Hello everyone. Let's do some brakes here. This thing here is using .3 brake fluid, so we're going to drain some of it out so that we can compensate for when we compress the brake calipers. Fluid is going to come back into the master cylinder, so we don't want it to spill all over the place. This is good practice anyways, so that you can also add new fresh fluid when you're done. This is a 2014 Tahoe 4x4 that I'm working on right here. So I'm going to drain this out, and then I'm going to put the cap back on, and then we're going to proceed to taking stuff apart. Remove your rear wheels, and you're going to see these brass, or actually copper, factory clips. Remove those if your vehicle has them. Remove your caliper bolts. I'm using a 3/8 drive ratchet, flex head ratchet with a 13mm socket. Then on the inside you can use a 21mm wrench to hold the guide pin from turning on you when you're removing the bolt. After you break the caliper loose, go ahead and stick it somewhere where it's not hanging on the hose. Or you can get a hanger as well and find a place to hang the caliper. You don't want it technically resting on the brake hose. They say that's bad practice. And then remove your brake pads like I'm showing you here. And then you're going to remove the caliper anchor bracket. And what I'm using here is a 18mm socket with a 1/2" drive. And I'm using a cheater bar on it as well, because some of these can be pretty tight. So depending on what tools you have, this is going to make it easier for you to remove the bolts, or at least break them loose. Now you can remove your brake rotor. Sometimes these rotors can be stuck on there. You can get a big hammer and pound the hell out of them to break them loose. And this is a good time to also inspect your park brake lining. Make sure it's in good shape. I'm installing these brake rotors from a company called Power Stops. They're an upgrade. And as you can see here, what I'm pointing at is they are directional. So one goes to the left, one goes to the right. So make sure you get the appropriate ones. Now, what I'm showing you here, sometimes when the rotor gets stuck, you can use 2 bolts. And that's what those holes are for. So that's what I'm showing you here. And you can actually just press it out that way if it gets stuck. Just a tip. Now compress the caliper piston back into its bore. I have a tool for this, but you can also use a pair of seat clamps or even channel locks will get the job done. On the caliper anchor, inspect the pins, make sure they move freely and they're not stuck. You can take these apart if you have to and lube them up and get new seals for them as well. So what I'm going to replace here now is I call them anti-rattle clips, but they're the guides where the pads are going to ride on. So the kit comes with new ones. If not, these can also be purchased. Go ahead and reinstall the anchor in its proper location. Now on the anchor bolts, you can also put a little bit of Loctite on if you like. They do come from the factory that way. The choice is yours. I've done them both ways, with and without, and I've never had any issues. Grab yourself a torque wrench, and you want to torque the bolts to 122 foot-pounds or 165 newton meters. I'm using foot-pounds here, just easier for me. Make sure you double check your torque specs per your vehicle application, because this is a 2014, so it may be different depending on the year you're working on, or whether it's a 3/4 ton or whatnot. Just make sure to double check. Most kits are going to come with some brake lube. You can put these on the end of the caliper, the brake pads where it rides on the guides there, or you could put them on the guides itself, whatever your preference is. Or you could just put them on dry. I've done that as well, just because I don't like all the mess sometimes that it makes. Now I'm going to show you in this inside pad. It has a indicator squeaker, a little wear thing. I like to make sure that those are pointing up. At least that's the way it came off, so I always put it back the way I found it. And the caliper bolt torque is going to be 38 Newton meters or 28 foot-pounds. At this point, you can reinstall your rear wheels and torque the lug nuts to proper spec, and refill your master cylinder at this time. And remember, before you drive it, to pump up the brakes, because they will go to the floor. And also, when you test drive it, make sure that you follow the proper break-in procedure for the pads that you're using. All right, this will conclude this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to post a comment, and I'll try and reply as quickly as possible. Have a good day, everyone.